Let's go ahead and start. This is tutorial 6, working with tables and columns. Objective: explore the structure of a web table, create table headings and data cells, apply CSS styles to a table, create cells that span multiple rows and columns, add a caption to a table. Create row and column groups, apply styles to row and column groups, display page elements in table form, and then create a multi-column layout. Now this is the structure of a web table. First table row is made up of all header cells. Browser renders a web table with bold headers and spanning cells. 2 data cells span 7 columns. These 4 data cells span 2 rows each. Table caption is placed at the bottom right corner of the table. Our basic table, as soon as I get there, if we do a body / body, table, so you start a table with the table tag, and you end it with your slash. Then for a row, you indicate that with TR, table row, assuming. Actually, I never have looked it up. I always assumed it's table row. You end a row with a /TR. Then you got your TD. This is your individual cells within the row. And so maybe I'd put color TD. You do another TD for the next position in your table. Maybe this would be count, frequency. Say frequency. And then you do another /TD to end that. Now if I save that and take a look at it, doesn't look like much. Just looks like 2 words next to each other. This is where your style sheets and so forth comes in to enhance it. There's a little bit you can do with just HTML, but it's still not just a very fantastic tool to work with. Now for row 2, if I did TD red /TD, TD and then frequency 10 /TD, except for I didn't do a new row. Okay. End the old row, start a new row. There we go. Now if I have one more row in there, you do another /TR, TR for the new row, TD blue /TD, TD 25 /TD. If I refresh that, you see this here. Tables, among other things, allow you to line things up easily. Just to show you, it is a table. If I put border is equal to 1 in there, 3. Then if I refresh that, then you actually see the table format. But again, if you look at this, this is much more pleasing to the eye, isn't it? So that's our goal. In some cases, we'll merge cells together. That's what they've done with this national news and world news. That's what they're talking about with spanning 7 columns. Some cases, you can merge 2 rows together. That's what they've done here with these 4. And then a caption down here in the bottom right-hand corner. Well, that position for this one is bottom right-hand corner. The first table row is made up of header cells. You specify those differently, so they will behave differently depending upon your browser. Web table HTML structure consists of multiple table rows. That's what we're talking about here. You have multiple rows. And that's what each one of these TRs is. Separate row. Each table row contains one or more table cells. So in our case, we had two. We had one for color and one for frequency or count. This is an effective tool for organizing and classifying web page content. So again, it makes it easy so you can line things up. And consists of a table element. That's what we just did. That's how you started with the table. Now, marking tables and table rows, and we've already kind of demonstrated this, but a table element contains a collection of table rows marked using the TR. So if you want to put a new row in, you just need to do a TR. Table contains cells within each row. Size of the table is defined by the number of table rows, number of cells within the row. This example here is not very big. It creates it just big enough to put everything in there. If I said this is the frequency of the color specified, I save that, refresh this, makes it bigger. You can hard code how big you want each of the particular columns to be, or you could say it can be a percentage of the web page. So you can say this color here is going to be 25% of the page. This will be 75%. So you got a lot of control over that. But by default, it goes to whatever size works best for them. Here's what we referred to. Bless you. Got your table, /table, tr, /tr, and then your table cells, which are TDs. Now this gives you an example. Has a TR for each table row, but also uses a class attribute. Class attribute with value of schedule sets this table in its own class. We'll talk more about that later. But like in this one here, notice where that's at. It's within the table. Order doesn't matter on how you do these. Class is equal to, and what did that say? Schedule. Now, if I save this, make sure I clicked it. Yeah, I did click it. Do you see any change at all? No. So that's not something you're going to see reflected on your table. That's given a name, an attribute. Web tables support two types of data cells. You got your header cells, and you see that's marked as TH. And then you're also going to have our TDs, which we've looked at. By default, displays text in bold and centers text horizontally. Let's come here. And I'm going to change this first one because they are a header. Let's change these to TH. So if I come over here, this is what it looks like. If I click refresh, see how it changed? Became bold and so forth. You might say, well, big deal. You could just use the B for bolding it. Well, the idea is that it's technically marked as a header row now. And for somebody that is visually impaired, that would mean something to them. Because a header row is indicating what all the columns contain, right? Over in Word, you can create a table in this, where you can do an insert, and you insert a table and so forth here. And you can mark these as, put your color in here, your frequency, like this. You could do a save as, and choose, choose a web page. Now, if I look at the HTML behind this, let's see if I know how to do it in Word. Okay, I don't know how to do it in Word, but do a save as. And right here, make sure I have the right extension on it. HTML, that's good. Okay, so cancel. I'll try to open it without closing it. Go to color.htm, do an open with WordPad. That's in use. That's nice. Close this. Okay, so open with WordPad. See a lot of information. See, here's our TRs, TD. Here it is, table. So here I got my table. And then my first one is marked as a TR, and then I got TD here. Didn't mark it as a header, did it? So it didn't mark it as a header, which is interesting. I thought it would, to be honest. If I open that up, if I go to my design or layout, it says display special formatting for the first row of the table. I thought marking that would mark this as a header row. Again, that becomes an issue if you're trying to create a web page that's ADA compliant. It's supposed to be what you see right here with your TH. That's why you have to understand a little bit of HTML. You got editors that'll create these nice web pages for you and so forth, but maybe they're not creating it like they should. You will notice that spread throughout here. They got different styles. So they got different styles spread throughout here. Probably at the top, if I had to guess. Look at that. They got their own tag for Word document. Not seeing it, but there's probably some style sheets of information up here at the top. But that's what the TH does. Now, it may look slightly different depending upon the browser. It's not saying they're all going to look the same in each browser, but it's specified as a header row. Let's see, data cells contain content within columns or rows. By default, displays text as unformatted. Text is aligned to the left within the cell. We saw that, and that's the TD. Here's for my first row, TR. You see I got all these marked as THs, indicating their headers. And then this down here, we got our TR, and then we got a TH here, and we got a TH here. This says header cells at the start of each row, identifies the row content. So instead of just having headers across the top, you have them on the side too. And if you look back at the example, that's actually what these indicated. Across top, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, the days, and then across side is our times. I swear it's freezing here. Is it cold in here? Sort of. The CSS border property is used to add borders to any part of a web table. Borders need not be of the same style. Two style choices for borders, separate borders and collapsed borders. The standard borders here is where you can indicate a weight. So if I put a 5, for example, if I save that and refresh this, you see it becomes thicker. Not a whole lot of flexibility there. Not a whole lot of formatting that it gives us. So you can use CSS to enhance those borders. Not only that, not only just to enhance, but also then to propagate that across many web pages. That's, again, the benefit of it. This gives you a picture of separate and collapsed borders. You see they both have the red around the outside. But this here, see how they're separate? Where these are collapsed together and our one side is sharing the other with the other side. To choose between separate or collapsed borders, between separate or collapsed borders model, apply the following property to the table element. So you got border dash collapse colon type, and you either type separate or collapse. Separate border model sets the spacing between the borders using the border spacing. So remember how those were separate? They had some space between them, so you can specify that. Or values in the CSS units of measure. Again, that may not be what you're used to, so you may have to play that, but it's easy. Just put a number in there, see if you like it, see if it looks good. Collapsed borders model. Borders from adjacent elements are merged together to form a single border. Borders are joined to combine their features. Combining adjacent borders with different widths, styles, or colors is complicated. That's probably one thing that you have a little bit more power on over here, is that you can control what do you want to do with your borders. Tell bottom border, top border, left border, right border. Sometimes it's just as easy to design things in like Word or potentially Excel and save them as HTML versus trying to do it by hand. Now, if you have access to some kind of editor, then that's even better. 5 rules to reconcile the differences between adjacent borders. If either border has a style of hidden, the collapsed border is hidden because they share it. Border style of none is overridden by another border style. So again, if one has a border, the other one doesn't have it, then the one that does overrides. Style of a wider border takes priority over the narrow border if neither border is hidden. Double borders have higher precedence, followed by solid, dash, ridge, offset, groove, and inset. If borders differ only in colors, preference is given to borders. Precedence borders in decreasing order, and you see all that. Okay, adding table borders with CSS. You see we got our table, border style, hidden, all that. See if I can remember where that's supposed to be at. Okay. I think it's in head, isn't it? Style / style. Table. Border style. Hidden. Border collapse. Separate. Closing curly bracket. Oh, no semicolon. And for TD, they have border. One PX. Solid blue. Save that. See how it changes? TD is just affecting the TD tag. And border collapse separate. Again, that's where there's spaces between them. Does that make sense how to use CSS to change a style? Okay. Spanning cells. You can think of this as if you've used Excel, where you're merging into one cell. So you have like 5 cells, you merge them in, you have one cell when you're done. Kind of idea. For example, if I'm in Excel, sales for year 2016. And then I have January, February, March, April, May, June, so forth. If I want this to be centered, easy way to do it here is you highlight these in Excel and you click Merge and Center. Merges it into one cell. And now it looks like it's a title. That's the idea behind spanning. Spanning cells, single cell occupies more than one cell row and or column. Created by adding row span and or column span attributes to TD or TH elements. Spanning starts in a cell with row span or column span. Attributes covers cells on the right and below the initial cell. See how you got column span is equal to columns. And notice where you're putting them. You're putting them in the TD, TH. So, if I come over here, and let's say I have a third column. Frequency. TH, and let me see. This is my mood. Maybe red makes me angry. Blue calms me down, and so forth. So I come down here, the TD for blue, and I put TD calming / TD. Refresh this. And we got our third column. But notice what's missing in our previous row. It's missing a cell, isn't it? Now I know it doesn't make much sense for this particular example here, but if I then say, I think it's column span equals, I think they had quotes around it. We'll see if I'm right. If I put a column span in there, see how that cell now goes over and it spans 2 columns. So that's what they're referring to. Let's see. Row span equals, column span equals. They want this one to span over seven columns. I'm trying to think what would happen if you spanned it over and you didn't have that many columns. I don't know if it's controlled by TH or not. Let me put 3 in here. I'm just curious. Moved it over just a little bit, so it's almost like it created a new column that had nothing in it. You have nothing in it, that's what it does. It's just jammed together like that. But left these blank up here. That's interesting. Probably not unless you get so excited about computer stuff. But then they give you an example of the row span. And you can use row span to have a little bit better formatting again. That's one of its main features. Although, again, I believe the visually impaired will tell them that it's something important. This is a header row, and then gives them the name. How would you know that this is an important item up here? It's the first item, and it's centered, right? What do you do is first items are usually centered in Word or Excel. They refer to titles. So I don't have to be told, just by looking at it, I can see it looks like a title. If I started putting numbers in here, we can tell right away these are headers, can't we? Just by visually looking at it. But again, a blind person would not be able to do that. So that's what some of these help make it more compliant. And that could be why the online people here told us not to put tables inside of our HTML documents. They said that it's not ADA compliant. It could be because it doesn't actually mark it as a TH. It doesn't mark it as TD and all things it should be. Okay, creating a table caption marked using the caption element. You got caption and whatever your content and then slash caption. This is listed immediately after the table tag. Only one caption is allowed per web table. I wonder if they mean after the table. Let me try to put a caption on my example. It says immediately after the table tag, but I don't know if it means the beginning or closing. So we'll try it here. Caption, this is the table of colors. Caption. Save that. I don't think I put that in the right place. So I'm guessing then they mean that after this. But let's see. I don't use caption at all. Nope, still didn't do it. Well, let's see what their example says where to put it. Live per web table. Okay. By default, captions are placed above the tables. Above the tables. It did put it above the table, didn't it? Why would a caption be above the table? Okay. So I guess put caption there. To specify a location, use the caption side property, where position is either top or bottom. So caption dash side bottom. So caption dash side equals quotes, just bottom, colon, bottom. Must not have something right there. Caption side, bottom. No, still not. We'll see when we get to the example. Oh, it's a style sheet, not property down there. So table dot schedule. Now notice the schedule there. That refers to the class we called it, right? The name. So if I go up here and table dot and then schedule and then caption and caption dash side bottom text aligned right. Okay, so then put it down here. So get rid of it here. Now again, this is what it ends up looking like. You have a caption down here in the bottom right-hand corner that says all times central. Now creating row groups. Row groups contain specific table information. Table information allows to create different styles for groups of rows. So you can have one row looking different than another row. So you might have one row looking this way, another row looking a different way, and third row looking yet another way. HTML supports 3 row groups. Rows that belong to the table head. This is marked using the T-head element. Then a table footer, the T-foot, and then the table body, which is the T-body. General structure for a web table divided into row groups is you got your T-head, then your table rows, and then your T-head. Only one T-head and T-foot element is allowed per table. Then you got your table rows. So it looks like you put your rows inside of a T-head. I've never actually programmed that from by hand. So let's see. Their implication is, since this is a header, we got a T-head there. And we got a /T head here. And what was the other one? T-body. T-body. So this would be a T-body. And down here would be a /T-body. Now, if it gets confusing when you're working with tables, some people like to indent these. So if that's it within the T-head, then you go like this, and that's in T-body. Now, for purposes of HTML, it doesn't care if you have that spacing in there or not. But if that helps you to see it better, then do that. Probably by default, it doesn't do anything, if I had to guess. But let's see. Got rid of caption, didn't it? Interesting. Huh. Must have precedence over it, if I had to guess. Because what probably, not that I put it, but if you start using this, what would probably go down in a T-foot or T-head? Caption, maybe? I don't know. Just guessing. Okay, so creating row groups. They give you the example. You got T-head here, /T-head. Within that, you got a TR. Then you got your T-footer down here, and I didn't put a T-footer. And then your T-body, and then whatever, and then /T-body. Columns are determined implicitly based on number of cells within the table rows. Columns are identified by the column element. To identify individual columns, use the ID and/or class attributes. What that implies is that you can have remember up here where we referred to this as table.schedule, and that was the name, the attribute we gave it down here. We called it schedule, didn't we? That implies if you have columns and you name them with a class, that you could have a specific style that's applied just to that column. Let's see. Columns can be referred using the following column group element. Columns are individual columns defined within the group. Columns and column groups accept only CSS style properties to modify. Column borders, background, width, visibility. So you can't have HTML in there directly where you modify it via HTML. All has to be modified via the CSS. Here we give it a column ID equals first col. And I wouldn't have guessed that. Column # first column displays the first column with a gray background. But then this next one, the difference is ID and class. So if you use ID, you put a pound. If you put class, you put a dot. Interesting. Levels of precedence in the table styles in decreasing order. Table cells, rows, row groups, columns, column groups, table. Again, what takes precedence over the other if they conflict? By default, browsers tend to fit more content in each column before wrapping the cell text. Extra space is divided among equally among columns if the width of the table is larger than its individual columns. What that means, and we'll see a CSS here in a minute, but let's see if I can remember the syntax. Up here, if I say my width of my table equals 800, and I'm not sure if I need spaces around it. If I refresh that, that's bizarre. I would have guessed 800 would have fit on the screen. But obviously I'd be wrong. So if I change this to maybe 400. So it automatically adjusted by putting spaces here at the end. So this is where you can have a table that doesn't look very good, that looks scrunched over to the left. You can kind of spread it out. You can also specify percents here. Let's see if I remember how to do this. I think it's 100% with quotes on it. Let's see. That'll take up 100% of your screen width. Now, these are just some very basic ones that are allowed in HTML. CSS, again, opens up a whole new world on what you want it to look like. Let's see. Height of each row is based on the height of the tallest cell. Uniform row height is defined by applying the height style to table rows within each row group. Vertical line property is used to move the cell text. I should mention, when you're working with these, if you want your first cell to be a certain percent, you can also specify that. Let's see if I remember where to set that. Let's put it here, see if that works. If I want this to width is equal to 5%. See how that shrinks it down? Now, does that look like 5% of the screen? Doesn't, does it? So it looks like you still gave it enough to fit the text into there. If I said this TH is 5%. Assuming I could type. What would the last TH be? %? Because they add up to 100%, right? So if I refresh this, again, this says this is 5% of your screen. This is 5% of the screen. Obviously, it's not 5%. It gave you enough for it to fit on there. And then the rest of it went ahead and allocated to the rest. So you may think that you're hard coding values in your HTML in order to get it to look a certain way, but what you put in text-wise may override that. So that's what we're talking about, things overriding. I always have to play with a vertical line. I think there's a line is the other one. Vertical. Let me see. Calming, BR, relaxing, BR. Put those in separate lines. Did I just put two? I thought I put, oh no, I just put, okay, I see. So put these on separate. Now over here, these aren't lined up maybe like I want. Maybe I want the blue up at the top. And this is the part I never can remember. Blue, via line equals top. Assuming I can spell. See, I put it at the top. Now, the benefit again of CSS is I do not have to individually do each cell. You know, if I was doing HTML and have to do each cell, then I might have to sit there and put that via line on 200 locations. CSS, you can put up at the top, and you can have all of them vertically aligned at the top. And we'll probably run across the other one. I think maybe it's just a line. There's your width. You can put, I guess you don't have to put quotes around it, but they put that up there in the CSS section. And again, depending upon whether you specify ID or class is whether you use that pound or the dot. So if you're sitting there doing homework and it's not working, it could be you use pound instead of dot or vice versa. Here's applying table styles to other page elements. Apply a table layout to other HTML elements using the CSS display. And I'm not going to go over those. Those will be in the book. Skip that. Tables do not scale well to mobile devices. Problems faced by users to view a table on a mobile device. Table is too small to read. Table does not exist, does not fit the visual viewport. Table columns are too narrow to read the cell content. So again, they're not great for cell phones and so forth. I noticed this specifically the other day. A website I went to just looked horrible on my phone. On the computer, it looked fine, but just you have to think about, you know, what are your customers, how they viewing your site, how many people are going to their cell phones. If you got 60% of your people going to your cell phones, you better make your cell phone version look good, right? Complete tables too small to read. That's what this person's website was. I had to make it bigger to even read it, and then I had to keep swiping back and forth to see it. This is horrible. Table's easier to read, but does not fit within the viewport. This is where you scroll back and forth. Table fits within the viewport, but columns are too narrow to read comfortably. A new layout of table data from mobile screens is required. Several table columns are reduced to two. One column contains all data labels. Second column contains data associated with each label. This talks about how to create it. We're not gonna do that. But if you're going into web design, you should pay close attention to that. Here's your 2-column layout for a mobile device. Just like you'd think, you got 2 columns. Not sure why this one's so wide. I would think since there's so much white space here, you'd want that kind of shoved over, but that's how they designed it. Down below, it could be that there's enough text down below where you have to do that. Now, designing a column layout. Column layout enables display of content side by side in the page. Layouts that use float elements or flex boxes differ from column layouts. Single element can flow from one column to the next. Flow of content adjusts to match the page width. Here's how you set the column count. Column count, colon, and then number, like 3 or something. It says browser extensions are included to ensure cross-browser compatibility. What's that mean? Not all browsers agree on what should be done with columns. So you have those browser extensions. This applies the column style only to screen devices wider than 640. Here's your uses browser extensions to ensure compatibility across browsers, and so forth. I think we talked about that last time. Media only, the screen size. I think didn't we go to Envision's website? Remember those? Vision Us or Envision or Us or something like that. Wichita, visually impaired people. Columns are laid out, defining column widths and gaps. Columns are laid out evenly across the width of the parent element by default. To set the column width, use the column width property, where size is coming from the hallway, right? In Arc City?
Yeah.
Okay. Where size is the minimum width of the column. Column width acts like the basis value for items in a flex box. Defining column widths and gaps. Column width and column count properties are combined to form shorthand columns. I'm going to skip over the columns. Column breaks. Spanning cell columns. Okay. Since we only have one column this week, so some of that was just kind of skipping because it's not as important. Is there any questions on how to create a table and how to use CSS to modify aspects of it? Okay. Make sure I clicked on the right one. Yeah. Okay, just to briefly cover some of these topics. By the way, you like that format better, where I actually create stuff in Notepad and show you? Okay. So there's computer networks and cloud computing. We're obviously not going to have time for all this, and so I'm just going to hit upon some highlights. Going into IT, you should know some of these terms. When somebody says LAN, what's LAN stand for?
Local area network.
Yeah, exactly. Local area network. You should know what a LAN is. And, if you're sitting in a job interview and they ask you, have you ever worked with a LAN-based application? If you have to ask them what LAN is, you're probably not getting called back. It's like, geez, where do you learn computers at? Wide area network. I think the WLAN. I'm not quite familiar with that. Wide local area network. I'm guessing. Dial-up, broadband, wireless. Probably no bar wireless. Network hierarchy. Okay. PAN. Anybody ever hear of PAN? I have no clue what that is.
Personal area network.
Personal area network. Okay. How about MAN? What's MAN? I don't know. Some of those aren't as important unless you're going into networking big time. Basic networking concepts: switch, dial-up telephone lines. You got analog lines, transmit digital data. Modem modulates carrier wave, speeds up to 56 kbps. Bandwidth capacity. Bandwidth is capacity. You should know that. DSL, digital subscriber line, uses phone lines but sends digital signal on different frequencies than voice. Download rate gives you that. Upload rate. Cable modem uses cable TV lines. And data rates up to 100 with upload speeds averaging 3 to 5. So if somebody tells you DSL is better, what can you say? Assuming these aren't old data. 100 versus 5 to 50. Faster, right? What's the benefit of DSL over cable modem? I'd never have had a DSL, so you'd probably be informing me. I always liked speed, so that's why I pay more. I'm guessing DSL is probably cheaper, wouldn't you say? If it isn't, you probably wonder why, since they're not as good performing wise. Ethernet, 1970s. Huh. It's interesting. Dedicated coax cable operates at 10. What does that mean? Capital M. Yeah. Per second. Yeah.
Per second.
Talks about fasting the Ethernet. Oh, maybe that's the difference. We had something called ArcNet when I started at IFR, and that was part of what a networking I did. I did kind of the dummy type work. I'd take the ArcNet cards out and I'd put Ethernet cards in, and we upgraded the entire plant to Ethernet. That's why I said 1970s was interesting, because that would have been 1995, 1996 when we did that. But maybe at that point, it became manageable. Because this is 10 versus 100, isn't it? So it's 10 times as fast. It was great, by the way. ArcNet, the speed that everything came in was just super slow. We went to Ethernet, and it was just like, bam, it was there, instantly. And then Gigabit Ethernet standard operates at 1,000 megabytes per second. So that's 10 times as fast as the fast Ethernet, isn't it? Let's see. Talks about the performance. Bluetooth, low power, close range, 30 to 50 feet, connects devices like wireless mice, cameras, video games. If you've probably played any of the Xbox or PlayStation, you know what Bluetooth is. A wireless local area network, WLAN. Computers transmit wirelessly to a base station, which is a wired connection, range 150 to 300 feet. MAN is a metropolitan area network. A built-out wireless network covers blocks or cities. We were talking about Ponca City this morning. I wonder if they have a MAN. Interesting. Wireless wide area network, WWAN. Computers transmit wirelessly to a remote base station, which has a fixed connection. Cellular technology involves antennas on towers miles apart. Example 4G. Signal may be blocked when indoors. Something interesting that they're wanting to do in Mulvane. And some of you have been to Mulvane. Kind of, sort of. We got the Blumenschein building, which is in on Main Street, 500 block, 400 block, and then there's we got the CTE Center out there toward the casino. And in the middle, there's a co-op. What's that called? Tower. Where they put the grain in. I should know that. Silo. They have silos there. And they were trying to get permission to put hardware up on top of the silo. It's called something eyesight, point of eyesight, where you can look and see it. And if you can, then you can transmit your signal from there. The idea, I think, is that they could share some of the same bandwidth via that. I'm not sure if they ever got permission from that place to put any kind of hardware up on top, but that's what they were trying to do. Again, what's the best way? Have Cox Cable come out, run you the fastest internet connection they can, and you're up and running, right? But is that the most economical way? No, and that's what you gotta consider. How many of you have the fastest internet that's available with Cox or whoever you're with? I don't see one hand being raised. I'm in the middle. I'd like to be on the high end, but I think it's like $120, $150 a month or something like that. It's like, I can't afford that. So again, you go for options like that. So some of these you may look at and you think, well, why in the world would you want to do this? Why don't you just try different, get the fastest you can? Well, it's cost. Local area network, wired connection, computers, printers, servers are on close proximity. All of them like in the same building, or there'd be a building right next door here. That'd be the same proximity. Example, same room, office building, or campus. Privately owned and operated. Topology. How computers are connected, affects how they communicate, can be made up of different types of systems, so forth. This talks about the different topologies and how you configure your network. Bus topology, ring topology. You see here, you got your kind of, this comes along here, and then you stop at each place. Ring goes around in a ring, and star goes like this. Though the reason why they have different topologies, there's some that are better for other applications than most. What would you think might be the best one? Star. I would say star. The bus idea is like you stop at every office, say, is this David's office? Is this David's office? Is this David's office? Is this David's office? Until you find the one you want. Star means this is being managed here. Somebody's up front and they say, okay, David's office is clear in the back on the left. So you go directly there. It's talking about a shared cable here. Trying to pick out the important things since we're internet connection's unstable. We need to get, I guess, the best internet here. Can you still hear me in Arc City? Give me a thumbs up if you can still hear me. And now they're gone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Did that automatically reconnect?
Yes.
Okay. That's funny. We're talking about going with the best you can, in terms of your internet, and then we got disconnected because unstable internet. This gives you an example: Ethernet LAN implemented using a switch. Wide area networks, dedicated point-to-point lines, store and forward packet switch packets go from node to node until reaching their destination. This is the part that our old network engineer would bring his brother in to help with the design for Cali, is because it's an art to get it to work correctly and to get it to work efficiently. What would you say on the main campus in Arc City? What's the buildings that probably have the heaviest usage? The what?
Web Brown.
Web Brown? Could be, because that's where the computer applications courses are taught, right? Don't know how much they use the internet, but it could be. Could be the dorms. What are everybody in their dorms doing at night, especially, or on weekends, assuming they don't have any money? Yeah, they're on the internet, right? Watching Netflix or surfing. A huge amount of data is going across the lines. That's not too exciting. Overall structure of the internet: combination of LANs and WANs connected by routers that direct message traffic. Your ISP, Internet Service Provider, provides access to the internet. Again, ISP is something you should know what it stands for, or at least bluff your way through an interview. Somebody talks about ISP, DNS, you just nod your head like you're understanding, and if they don't ask you any detailed questions, you're fine. I only had that happen one time in an interview. I was programming in Visual Basic, and I was using API calls. And I would copy them. I had them over in a notepad, and I'd copy them and paste them in, and make a minor change, and I'd be up and running. I did it quite often. And I went to, it was a place that designed circuits up in Wichita at one point. No, NCR. They do a little bit of everything. And I went to interview there, and they asked me, they said, do you use APIs? And I said, yeah, I've used APIs in Visual Basic and so forth. And then they said, well, which ones did you use? So, well, I brought up Notepad, and I'd edit, copy, and edit, paste it in. So I couldn't tell you the exact name of it, which I couldn't. And do you think I got a call back from NCR? No. They moved out of Wichita, but I'm sure they had a pretty good laugh, after I had left. So some of these terms you need to know going into an interview. Domain name services, DNS, provides addressing information. How do you use DNS? Use it constantly. You go to a website, www.imboredascanbeinthisclass.com. Where's it going out to look? It's looking for the name connected to the address, right? Use DNS fairly often, name servers. It talks about a private company network. It shows you have some routers, file servers, LAN. It's a pretty generic way to represent it, but there's a lot more to it than just throwing a few boxes on the screen. Sometimes you may have to do some analysis. You hook up some kind of network tool to the network, and you analyze what's going across the lines. How much bandwidth do you need? Connected to the internet using ISP. International ISP. Rate at which domain survey hosts have grown in just over 2 decades is astonishing. We're becoming a lot more connected, aren't we? And all these devices are now becoming internet capable, so they can talk via the internet. Protocol, standard set of rules for communicating. You got protocol hierarchy, protocol stack, TCP/IP, layers of protocol, physical transmission to end application rules and standards. What's TCP/IP stand for? Not that important if you're going into programming. You'll never be asked in a programming interview, do you know what TCP/IP stands for? If you are asked that, you don't want to work that place anyway. So not too important from programming. If you're going into networking, if they ask you what TCP/IP stands for, you should know. By the way, I'd have to look it up myself. I don't know what it stands for. I know the P stands for protocol at the end, and I could guess, but it'd be a lie. Internet society makes standards, promotes research. Standards evolve over time. International agreements make internet possible. Here's talking about some of your communication protocols. Talks about the layer it's at too. You got your HTTP. That's your web browsers. So all the information's coming through on that protocol. That means that if you design a device that is meant to bring in that protocol, HTTP, then you gotta program that in. If you want to bring in FTP, you got to program that in. Transport layer, the TCP and the UDP. The network is the IP. So what do you think the TCP IP is a combination of? Transport and network protocols. Then you got those other ones. Talks about the physical layer protocols. How to know when a bit is present online, whether the bit is digital, analog in form. Data link protocols ensure reliable transmission of bits. There's error detection and correction notices failures in transmission. Just in general, when you're sending information across the internet or the network and it's communicating, it's sending those packets. Packets are little pieces of a file. So if you send one movie file, that may be broken into 100 packets. Each one's a little piece of information. The idea there is I'm not streaming some high definition video from Netflix and I got total control of the line. In theory, since it's broken into little packets, then you'll have a capability to put other packets in there, and so you share. So it's a sharing mechanism. Framing determines which bits belong to one message. Okay, not too exciting. This is kind of important. If no error, the return acknowledgement message, ACK. When you transmit a packet and wait for the ACK, that tells you whether it worked or not. So like somebody comes, and when I say somebody, we're talking all networking, not like people. So a device is sitting there saying, hey, I want this file. You say, okay, I'm going to send you the file. So I'm breaking it up into pieces. So I slice it up into pieces. I send you it a piece at a time. And then when I get that message back saying there's no errors, then then you realize, okay, it worked. So and then you don't have to do that. Otherwise, if you receive an error, then you can resend that packet. So you can repeat on the current packet. Does that make sense? Because remember, all this is based upon electronics, right? Voltage and so forth. So if you have a high voltage, it can screw up a packet coming through. You have one packet screwed up, well, if you put it in the file when you received it, it would be this screwed up file. And so it automatically has error checking to see if everything came through okay. Packet contains markers for the start and end of the socket, SOP and EOP. They went over this in some of the security training I went to. Personally, I like programming. I don't find networking too exciting. I'm hoping before too long, Cali will hire somebody that does a networking side. Because does anybody plan to go into networking? A little bit with the security. It's kind of implied with it. But good money in it. If you're good at it, you can design the LAN, the server, all that, so it works perfectly. Of course, you would ask a network person, they'd say programming is boring to them. So, okay. Purpose of the data link layer creates a virtual free message pipe. Network layers got 2 minutes. IP, Internet Protocol. I knew it ended with protocol. Host name, human-friendly name for the node, IP address, unique numerical address used by the computer. That's when we're talking about that, we're talking about a specific website probably. Domain server maps the host name to the IP addresses. So my website, www.mathheals.com, when you type that in on your browser, it goes out to a DNS, and it says, what's the IP address? DNS gives them the IP address, and then it knows where that's located at. So there's multiple DNS, by the way. There's not like one central place for it. If there's one central place for it, if that one place was down, what would happen? Entire internet would be down, right? So it propagates it. And that creates issues. Because if you have this DNS here, and if it's screwed up, it propagates to another location. And we've had trouble with that in the past. Like one place was correct, and one place was not correct with AT&T. And we'd have customers, some of them call up and say, we can't get to your site at all. And we'd go to it on our network. It's like, well, I can get to it just fine. Must be on your end. Once we heard from like 100 different customers, we realized it was a bigger issue than that. One of the DNS servers was screwed up and had the wrong configuration, and that's why they couldn't get to our site. And I'm out of time. I'm not going to put a test out there for this. I'm going to put some of the tutorials for the tables out there. So anyway, it's good information. I would recommend reading the chapter anyway and getting what you can out of it. Well, we're done.